the class of '69, and we've stood the test of time.
Okay, I'm Betty Wilder-Sivis. I have lived in Lamar all my life. My husband and I have owned several businesses. Primary one is Sivis and Company Auctioneers. I've owned a newspaper, we actually started the newspaper from scratch. I owned a fabric store. We've just done a lot of things on our own, but mostly self-employed. My one thing probably nobody knows and nobody else in the class has had is I was bitten by a rattlesnake in 1988. I survived it, the snake did not. But it's not an experience I want to go through again. It was pretty scary. I have two boys. Neither one of them live here in Lamar. Calvin is a 24-year veteran of the Navy, and Curtis lives in Liberal, Kansas, which is about 3 hours away, and so he comes home quite a bit. Calvin's in South Texas. And that's about it. 4 grandkids.
Okay, Bob Smith, Robert Smith, with my wife Elaine standing beside me. After high school, graduated, of course, and went 2 years of junior college, but I didn't graduate because I didn't finish my English thesis. Had too much fun my second year. After that, because I ran out of money, I was going to get drafted, so I joined the Navy. Went to Vietnam a couple times, got out of the Navy after being an aircraft machinist mate and search and rescue crewman, and then went to college for a year in Fort Collins, and then did finish, and then worked at a feedlot in eastern Colorado for a number of years. Started a feed business in eastern Colorado, and then we moved to Colorado Springs, got a divorce, and after having 2 kids, Mindy and Blake, and then from there I did go to the San Luis Valley, worked for the Bureau of Reclamation, about 6 years, water project, and then one summer with the Parks Department at the Great Sand Dunes National Monument. Back to Colorado Springs, a couple odd jobs, and then I got on full-time with the United States Air Force Reserves in 1997, which was also the year that I met Elaine. And my life changed at that time for the better, and became on a steady ride from then on out. And it took me a while, but from then on we cruised through Air Force Reserves, retired at age 60. 2 years ago this November, we moved to Colorado City, built a home, and a barn that's bigger than the house. And
well, it's supposed to be, right?
you're right. And still working on that place, working on a deck right now. And 2 wonderful kids. We're so fortunate to have a son who's a pilot for FedEx right now, and he's based out of Memphis, but he lives in Arizona. Our daughter has given us 4 wonderful grandkids. They live in Pensacola, Florida, and unfortunately it's hard to get down to see them, but we are fortunate. But that's about it. That brought us up to today, and what a wonderful, wonderful evening and a weekend.
My name is Carol Ann Pearson Drasnick. I graduated in 1969, and I went to LCC, and after that I moved to Greeley and worked for Kodak. And then I ended up coming back to Lamar, and then I was here the rest of my life till about 1999. And I was married and divorced, and now I'm retired, semi-retired, and I work for the Lassie. And I have 2 kids, Nikki, who's 43, she has 2 kids, Thomas and Nolan. And my son is 40, and he has 2 kids, Liam and Logan, which are 8 and 4. And like I told you, I'm a jack of all trades, but master of none. And that's it.
Hi, I'm Carol Smart Osmus. After graduation, I attended Lamar Community College for 2 years, graduated, got married to this guy, Monty, in 1971. Pretty soon, we'll have been married 48 years. After about 5 years, we had our first daughter, Alicia, who's now 42. A girl, 2 years later, Tara, she's 40. And Bethany came along several years later, she's now 35. We have 6 grandchildren and love them to pieces and spend lots of time with them. I spent a lot of time on the farm helping Monty, and eventually went to work at Farm Credit for several years, and then at MHD Preschool for 18 years. I'm retired now, and like I said, spend lots of time with grandchildren, and we love our church, our family, and our community still, and it's wonderful to be back to see everyone.
I am Chris Colleen, and I have been taking a big tour around the world and doing lots of fun things, but my first career was a speech pathologist, and I practiced in District 11. I also worked at Melbourne School, a little bit here in Lamar. When I felt that I didn't want to do speech pathology anymore, I decided to move to France, and I was a nanny, and I wanted to learn French. And so I thought the best way for a 30-year-old or almost 30-year-old to learn French would be to go and live with a family that didn't speak English. And I was right. So after 4 months, I was getting pretty fluent. And when I came back, I did a lot of traveling after that. When I came back, someone hired me to lead bicycle tours in France. So I led bicycle tours in the Chateau regions of France, wine country. So I learned how to drink wine. And I learned to speak French better, and I also learned a lot about another culture in a very deep way. So I feel really grateful for that. After that, I realized that my career that I really wanted to do was to be in fashion, although I felt it was quite superficial. It was always something that I was very passionate about. I had even designed clothing in my closet as a little girl. And so I knew that there was something there, and I wanted to explore my more creative side. I started in retail. I advanced. I ended up in San Francisco working for a large Macy's on the West Coast in the fashion office, which took me to France for the fashion shows and back and forth to New York. So I was getting a big glimpse of a bigger fashion world. Ultimately, it led me to a job in Hong Kong where I was the creative director for G2000 Apparel. And that was another eye-opening experience that changed my life. After that, I toured Asia by myself and Indonesia, and felt that at a certain point I needed to find my roots again, because I was getting caught up in the fashion world, and there were some elements of it that I didn't feel were very important to me. Hence my relationship with the things I talked about my origins and my roots. And my roots brought me back to Colorado and looking for a little bit deeper lifestyle. A deeper part of myself, which was when I decided to settle down, start my own business so that I could adopt my child, who is now 16. And I have been running the business for 24 years. That's it.
Hi, I'm Deborah Polk, used to be cook many years ago, and still live in Lamar. Been out of here a few times, spent some time in Louisiana. Between my husband and I, we have 7 children, 14 grandchildren, and 19 great-grandchildren with another one on the way. We have a large family. My son is in the Marine Corps, has been there for 28 years, a career Marine, got 2 more years to go to retirement. My youngest daughter lives in Georgetown, Kentucky, and she's a nurse at UK hospital. And her husband has his own business. He's a psychologist, licensed psychologist. And what I've done since high school, most of the time I was involved with things that had to do with music. I was always into the music. And I had a karaoke business that was actually more entertainment. I would hire out and do jobs and just go sing for people, but after 18 years of carrying around all the heavy equipment and stuff, my back gave out, so had to quit doing that. But I still love my music and still do a lot of singing. My husband and I we're pet lovers. We have 5 dogs, little ones. They're all little ones, but we spend a lot of time at home. We're homebodies anymore because of health issues, and we both have them, so we don't get out a lot. But I wanted to come and see everybody, and I'm so glad I did, and hope we're all around for the next one. Go for 60.
Hi, I'm Debbie Henderson Kendall. This is my husband, Roger. The first year after graduation, I went to Lamar Community College. Then I got married and had a baby girl. Her name is Amy, and she lives in Denver with my 2 grandsons. Kieran is going to be 20 in October, and Liam is 17. He'll be 18 in January. I moved to Colorado Springs in 1973, and I worked in a flower shop, which I loved, but it didn't pay me enough to support myself because by then I was divorced. And in 1978, I got a job at Majestic Savings and Loan, where I worked for 16 years. We were purchased by World Savings and Loan. I started as a teller trainee, and I became an assistant vice president and district savings manager. I left World Savings because I married this guy who was career Army, and I had a chance to go be with him in Germany. I got to live in Germany for 3 years, from 1993 to 1996. That was fabulous. We came back to Colorado Springs, where Roger worked for LensCrafters, and I went to work for Pikes Peak Library District. The best, most fun job I ever had. We currently live in Mesa, Arizona, where I'm retired, and Roger works for Empire Caterpillar. I volunteer at the library. I still love libraries, and I teach NIA. If anybody wants to know about NIA, all you got to do is ask.
Okay, hey, I'm Dennis Brisky. Grew up in Lamar, graduated Lamar, left 2 weeks after I graduated, went to the military. I was a Green Beret. Spent 3 years there, got out, got married, had 2 kids, 2 sons. 20 years later, got divorced and remarried. She had 4 little kids. So I raised 2 families. A little known fact is I climbed the radio station tower when I was a senior. And I put a sheet up there that had 69 written on it. And I think it stayed up there for quite a while. Nobody went back up to get it, but it's on the big radio station tower. I hope the statutes of limitations has passed. I wasn't drunk at the time. I waited for a calm, cool night, and my mom about killed me when she found out what I did. But I've been a carpenter all my life. Started playing guitar when I was 12. Been in various cowboy, country, western, pop groups, bluegrass, guitarist, love it. Started preaching when I was about 40 years old. I loved to preach about our Savior. He did wonderful things for us. And I want to encourage everyone to plan for eternity. This life is way too short and fast. But we can live eternally. So I encourage everyone to investigate and go down that road if you haven't already. So thanks. It's been a real pleasure.
My name is Diane Morning and Green. I married Michael and Green in 1972. Worked as an ophthalmic technician and office manager for a Remax in Greeley and as a bookkeeper in my own company. We retired in 2015 and we have a motorhome that we travel the country in. Just had a new grandbaby, our very first and only. And we're pretty excited about it.
Hi, I'm Ed Havens, part of the class of '69, Lamar High School. And right after high school, I went to Lamar Junior College for not quite 2 years. I didn't finish my course. I had to get a full-time job because I was married and starting to raise a family, so didn't finish my college, but worked around in Lamar until 1978, and then I moved to Wiggins, Colorado, where I managed a large hog farm, 750 sow farrow finish hog farm, which unusual. I started selling cars in Lamar with Reese Motor Company back in 1974, and after my stint with the hogs up in Wiggins, moved to Greeley and got back into the car business. Spent 33 years in the car business as sales manager, finance manager, used car manager, sales, and then my wife and I opened up our own lot, Havens Auto Center in Greeley. Like I say, I spent 33 years in the car business. During that time, I did a lot of music, different bands. My wife and I traveled with Doug Kershaw for a while. Decided that wasn't for us, so we shut her down, went off the road, and tried to lead a normal life, which who knows what that is. Between us, we have 3 daughters, and then we raised 3 Ethiopian siblings, so we have 2 more daughters and a son from that. Between all of the kids, we have 16 grandchildren, and makes Christmas real interesting, but we really enjoy it. So, other than that, I really haven't led much of an exciting life, and we're really enjoying retirement. We're hoping to do a little more traveling than we have been, but there's where we are. Thank you.
Okay, Jane Overworkman Meeker. First off, I don't want to do this, but here I am. Okay, after high school, went to Adams State College and went there because I wanted to ski. So that's what I did 4 days a week. Beyond that, I finally got my teaching degree. Went to Roswell, taught there. Met my husband. I tried to
fix me up with somebody else.
Yeah, I kept trying to fix him up with the cutest little speech therapist that worked with us. And at the end of the night when we'd go out, it was like, no, I think I kind of like him, And so we met, and 6 months later we were married. And we've been married 43 years. Had 1 daughter and now have a granddaughter. And she will be 10. We lived in Roswell for a long time. And now we're in Phoenix because our granddaughter's there.
I'm Janine Stapleton when I graduated in 1969.
I'm David Colton, graduated in 69 as well. We got married in April of 74. We have 3 children, 6 grandchildren. I lived in Aurora for 42 years. And we're both retired and enjoying grandchildren, which I think is probably the most important thing to do once we no longer have work duties. So just enjoying life and spoiling grandchildren.
Right after high school, I went to work at Tempo. David also worked at Tempo. Then I moved to Pueblo, worked for a real estate company. Moved back to Lamar when we got married. Then we moved to Denver. And during that time, I worked at a bank for a few years. And as we had our children, I stayed home, did daycare until they were grown. Spent probably the last 20 years of my career in mortgage banking. The last 12, I was the benefits administrator, doing payroll, benefits, safety, a little bit of everything for an engineering company in Denver, until they finally released me and let me retire in February.
I worked for several different companies, mostly engineering related businesses. The last 10 years of my career, I worked with the same company Janine worked at, doing procurement, working on global mining and oil and gas projects, spending millions and enjoying every minute of spending somebody else's money. But again, retirement is probably the most important thing in life once you get there.
I'm John Lefferdake, class of 69. After graduation, I went to CSU in Fort Collins, graduated with a degree in business, then attended law school at the University of Denver, graduated in 1975, came down here and joined my father in law practice, where I stayed for the next 40 years. And really enjoyed it. Being a small town attorney is pretty remarkable, all the things you run into. I've got 3 daughters. One of them's in Boston, one of them's in Northern California, and the other one's in Parker, Colorado. All good kids, so I lucked out there. Got 3 grandkids. They're doing well. Still live here in Lamar. I like small towns. Hope to stay here for a few more years. Thank you.
My name is Jonna Scott Thompson. I'm married to Norton Thompson. We had 2 daughters. Our oldest daughter passed away in 2002. Our youngest daughter, Tracy, lives in Philadelphia with her husband and daughter. I have a granddaughter who lives in San Antonio, Texas, and she has a little boy, so I'm a great-grandmother now. I spent 2 years in Philadelphia taking care of my granddaughter for Tracy, and now Norton and I are building a house here in Lamar. Hopefully we'll be moving in before cold weather sets in.
Well, I'm Judy Ply Turpin, and graduated Lamar High School and attended Lamar. At that time, it was Lamar Junior College, and did that for a couple of years. And then shortly after that, I went to work at First National Bank, and I worked there for 13 years. Somewhere in that mix, I married Kent Turpin, and we had 2 children. I have a daughter, Tamara, who's 43, and my son, Brady, is 39. Kent and I parted along the way in 1997, but we're still good friends, and we have a nice relationship with our children. In 1985, I decided to start my own business, and I started New York Life, and I do financial services, investments, and life insurance. Love it, love it, love it, and I kind of consider my clients my family. I have 4 grandchildren. My oldest is going to the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs. My granddaughter is a sophomore, and if you were here tonight at the banquet, she was one of the students that served tonight, and I was very proud of her. I have a grandson, 9, and I have a granddaughter, 4, and it's just fun to watch the kids grow and follow them and watch them become adults. I love Lamar. I've lived here most of my adult life, and I'm just happy to be a part of the class of 1969, and that we're all still together and very cohesive.
Julie Augustine Weiss. I grew up in Lamar. I went away to college in Iowa, got a teaching degree in Iowa, came back to Colorado and taught in Genoa, Colorado, met my husband there, married him, was married for 15 years, now I'm divorced. I taught school in Wiley, Colorado and Lamar, Colorado, and I retired after 32 years of teaching. I love teaching, I love the children. I have a home in Lamar. I live here and help my mother at her store, the Lassie Shop. I have 1 grown son, Jason. He's 42, farms and ranches up by Lyman, Colorado. And I have 2 granddaughters, Skylar is 16 and Aubrey's 13. And they are farm and ranch girls, rodeo girls, FFA, 4-H. And I spend as much time with them as I can. And that's kind of my life.
Hi, my name is Karen England Kortkamp.
And I'm Kent Kortkamp.
After I graduated from high school, I went to Lamar Community College for 2 years. The summer after I graduated, I met Kent and we got married.
And moved to Oklahoma City.
When we went to Oklahoma City, Kent was already there, and he was going to school, and I also went back to school and got my teaching degree. We have 2 children, Kelly, born in 1976, and Carrie in 1978. After I taught for a while, I went back to school and got an accounting degree and worked in accounting, but with children it was better for me to go back to school and teach to be on their schedules. So I taught school a total of 20 years.
I was employed by the Oklahoma City Police Department for 25 years.
After I taught school, I went to Southwest Airlines and worked in the finance department for 10 years. And Kent and I both have flying benefits on Southwest Airlines. We love to travel.
We're currently living in Duncan, Oklahoma, and I'm employed by an oil man there. And Karen works part-time in a supply store.
My name is Karen Lutterschmidt, Karen Kinter Lutterschmidt. I've been married almost 48 years, 48 years in December. I have 2 children, Christine and Marcy. They each have 2 daughters as well. I stayed in Lamar most of my life after graduation. I did go to Colorado Springs to a business school and then met Dan, and he was in the Army, and he went to Germany. And I came back to Lamar and I worked at Aspen Ski Weir while he was in Germany. And then he came home and we got married. I had not seen him since March. He came to Louisville, Kentucky, and I flew to Louisville, Kentucky by myself. My family did not come with me, and we got married. And then 3 weeks later, he went to Vietnam. And he was gone until he left in January. He was gone until June. My father died. The Red Cross brought him back home. He got to stay home for 5 weeks. He went back to Vietnam. He was there 2 weeks, and he was in the artillery, and they let him come back home because this part of Vietnam was over. We settled in Colorado Springs until 1973, 1970, yeah, I think it was 1974. And then he was shipped to Germany, and we had Chris then. She was 18 months old. And we lived in Germany for 3 years, and we were poor, and we had no money, and Colorado was a long ways from Germany. So we stayed in Germany the whole 3 years. We had a very good life. When we came back from Germany, we decided that we wanted to come back to Lamar and raise our children here. Dan's from Louisville, Kentucky, and he didn't want to raise the kids in big city. So we came back to Lamar after he got out of the Army. And both of our daughters graduated from high school, and then Marcy graduated in 1997, and I told Dan as soon as she was done from high school, we were leaving Lamar. There was nothing to do here. I had to go. So we decided that we were moving to Louisville, where he was from, and we lived there 18 months, and he didn't like his job, so he transferred to Colorado Springs. We lived there till I retired in 2016, and now we live in Lamar, Texas. Although my address says Rockport, I actually live in Lamar, Texas. Never thought I would be a Texan, but I love it there. And all in all, we've had a wonderful life.
Okay, hi, I'm Larry Nunnery. This is my wife, Gina Nunnery. We've been married for 30 years, and I graduated with everyone else in 1969. I went 2 years to Lamar Community College, graduated in 1971, and I've lived several places. Lived in Springfield, La Junta, Colorado Springs, and when Gina and I first got married in 1990, we moved to Corpus Christi, Texas. We lived there for 7 years. And I've been a pilot the whole time. I'm an airline transport pilot. I got that license back in like 1980. And we moved from Corpus Christi to Grand Junction, and we've lived there for the last 20 years. And I own an aircraft business. I'm a pilot, and I buy and sell aircraft. And that's the story of my life.
All right.
Hi, this is Lee Weiser Poe. I currently live in Pueblo, Colorado. I was born and raised in Lamar. I did not graduate with the class of '69. I left Lamar in 1967, moved to Pueblo, and I actually graduated from Pueblo East High. But Lamar is still home. I have worked for attorneys, and I'm currently on my 48th year working for the same attorney. And that's probably a record for any of us. Yes, I'm crazy, but I enjoy my work, but I'm ready to cut back to 3 days a week. That's basically what I've done most of my life, so here we are.
All right, hi, I'm Linda Downey, used to be Linda Ryard, and this is my husband Jess. I graduated from Lamar High School and continued working at Tasty Freeze for the Clarks. Went to LCC and got a secretarial science degree and started working for George McLaughlin, and I stayed there for 7 years. I worked for a couple of attorneys in Boulder, and then I got married and had my 2 girls, and we raised them in the Lyman School District. My youngest daughter graduated from McClave. When Jess and I decided to finally get together, we've known each other since we were 15, and each one of our selves went in different directions, I guess you'd say. And we finally, the timing was right, and we got together. So we raised his 2 boys and my 2 girls, and we live out by John Martin Reservoir now and our little hill, and we're very happy. Jess coached a semi-pro baseball team for 9 years, and we made a lot of trips during the summer to Wichita, Kansas to the World Series, and that was a lot of fun. I love all sorts of crafts, crochet. I love all animals. We have rehabbed our son, who had a traumatic brain injury. His dog got hit by a car and had a traumatic brain injury. We have ranchers that bring half-dead baby calves to us, and somehow we managed to get them to take a bottle, and so we have bottle calves. I love our chickens, our real cows, and I love country life. And that's about it. I love my grandkids. I have 3 grandkids. Jackson is 8, Emma is 5, and Eli is 4 months.
Hello, my name is Maria Vargas, and I am a graduate of the class of 1969 from Lamar High School, and very proud to be associated with all my classmates who are wonderful, wonderful, beautiful individuals. I've had a lot of good fortune in my life. I was able to teach Spanish, English, and French for 5 years at the secondary school level. And then I got my master's degree in public administration, and I went to work for the federal government, for NASA, and then for the Office of Management and Budget, and then for the U.S. Congress as the federal audit manager for performance. And now, having been retired almost 10 years, I am a meditation instructor and mentor, and in the somatic meditation form, which is basically recognizing that the intelligence and wisdom that exists in the universe basically exists in every single cell of our bodies. And when we go into deep meditation, we actually get to experience that, and it brings us home to who we actually are. And who we are is this basic wisdom, unconditional love, but not in a romantic sense. It's warmth, human understanding, dignity, compassion, and the practice of that once you get off the meditation cushion. All this has been corroborated by the scientific research that has been done into what the body is and how it functions. So it's more development of the right brain, intuitive part of us, versus the left brain, which is very much into analyzing and doing all kinds of things that it shouldn't be, like judge a lot. So at any rate, it's very fascinating work, and I do enjoy teaching both English and Spanish. And I hope that more people can actually go there, because that is one way of helping to save not only ourselves but the world, if we all behave as the rich human beings that we are. But we need to recognize that by giving ourselves a space to see that we in fact are that. Thank you.
Hi, Marla Thomason here. After graduating from Lamar High School, I went to LCC for 2 years, and then I graduated from the University of Denver. From there, I got my first job at May D&F in Denver as an assistant buyer in junior sportswear. Worked my way up to a buyer of designer sportswear within a couple of years. And one of the designers that I was buying from in New York, billed her for Frederick Sport. Their sales manager was moving to LA, and they offered me the job, and off I went to New York. So I was responsible for sales in that company. I was there for a good many years, and I moved up to vice president. And then the next company after that was Betty Hansen, because Frederick Sport went out of business. And with them, I was able to travel to Europe and do fabrics and colors for the season with the designer, choose that, come back, work on putting it together, and then be in charge of selling it. And that was pretty interesting, but of course a lot of hard work, but very interesting work. In 1990, I started my own business where I do image consulting, and I'm a stylist. I work with men and women, helping them with their clothing, with their appearance, lots of different things. And I'm also an image expert for an outplacement firm with senior level management, where I work with more men than women. I prepare them for their interviews, how they're dressed, and it's all about their presentation. So it could be their glasses, their hair, their clothing, everything from head to toe. So that's been really terrific, and I'm really enjoying that. I have a blog that I write every couple of months. I also write for the Three Tomatoes, which is a fun blog for women once a month. I do a fashion blog for them. 8 years ago, in 2011, I got married to Barry LePatner, and we live in New York City, and it's been a really wonderful 8 years. I'm having a great time. So I just want to keep it all going. I wish you all could have been here. We had a great, great reunion.
I've basically been around here in Lamar. We did go 5 years and lived in Washington State. We intended to go for 1 year, but we stayed for 5. Our son got on the swim team there at the high school, and he wanted to graduate from there. And so he graduated in June, and we were back by July 4th in Lamar. But other than that, we really haven't traveled, just keeping busy. I retired 6 years ago. In 2013, I retired, and in 2016, I had a bout with that nasty cancer, and I did have surgery, chemo, and radiation, but I'm in remission now. I'm doing good, thanks to God. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is Thomas II, and he will get his associate's degree from the junior college here in Lamar because he wants to be an ag teacher. He was in construction with my husband, and then when Tom retired, he took over the business. But now, 2 years ago, he decided he wanted to be an ag teacher, so he's doing that. Next year, he'll have to go outside of Lamar to finish up. Our daughter, Andrea, lives in Brighton. She is in her 15th year of teaching. She teaches PE and coaches, does a lot of coaching. And our son, Martin, is in Florida. He works with Nike now. He's been around. He's traveled a lot. And recently, this last summer, he traveled overseas a couple of times because he is still swimming. And he's gotten medals. This summer, he got some medals.
And your name is?
That'd be good. Mary Jane. I was Camacho. And I'm Taurus now. And my husband is Tom.
Hi, I'm Mary Lee Christensen Fee. And I'm now just Mary Fee because I'm married, because if you put the name together, you understand why. But after high school, I went to the University of Colorado and graduated with a business degree in accounting. From there, I went to work for Sears for over 20 years, going from Boulder to Topeka, Kansas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Dallas, then to the Chicago area, to Skokie, and finally ended up on the 61st floor of the Sears Tower. Met my husband in Chicago. We said, let's go back to Texas. So we did that. We bought coffee stores in several of the malls in Dallas. He did that. I continued with Sears a little while longer. And then when he retired, by then we'd had 3 children. I have a son that's 33, Owen. Kelly is 28, and Katie is 25, which means I had her at 43. So we retired and moved from Colleyville, Texas to Granbury, Texas, a little lake community. That was our lake house. And I found I could work at Home Depot. And I have so for 18 years. I'm a plumbing expert, believe it or not. Crazy. A lot like accounting, it's common sense. But it paid the health insurance, and my kids are out of school debt-free. We love it. They all live in the Granbury area, which is wonderful. I do a lot of quilting, a lot of needlework. My husband is into street rods, hot rods, and I get to travel with him on some of those. It's kind of fun. But we are loving Texas and glad to be here at our reunion.
I'm Mike Welk, and I've been living in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, about halfway between St. Louis and Memphis, since '92. I've had too many careers. I've pastored for about 15. I taught for about 15, most of those in Lamar, and I managed an electrical supply business for a while. About 5 or 6 years ago, I quit working for anybody else, and I've enjoyed that. I drive a little bit of Uber type stuff, and I do some writing. And I like where I live. I tell people I probably ought to buy 2 gravestones for Trish and me. And the Lord has been the center of my life since 1977, and He's keeping me. He's keeping me, and I'm thankful for that. One time before I believed in Him, I heard a voice say, "If you don't straighten up, you'll be dead by the time you're 35." And I made it. He kept me, and it's been good. It's been good, and I'm excited about that. And really, what the rest of my life is pretty much about is touching people that are adrift, because He is good, and I know He's going to be good tomorrow, and I know there's nobody too tough or too rotten that He doesn't love them. So that's what I'm about.
Out of high school, I went to cosmetology and got my license, and had a beauty shop 15 years, married, divorced, with 3 kids by him. Several years later, I met Bob and we married, and I went to trucking after the kids raised, and trucked for 20 years, and he passed away, and I'm still trying to find myself. That's about the size of my life.
Hi, I'm Troy Brazel,
graduate of the class at Lamar High in 1969. Right after school, I went to the University, Oklahoma Christian University in Oklahoma City. Bounced around a little bit, went to work for Montgomery Ward, worked for them for a while. Ended up back out in the Oklahoma Panhandle. From there, we moved back to Texas. I ended up going to work in the oil and gas business. I worked 35 years for Phillips Petroleum Company, GPM, a wholly owned subsidiary. In 2000, they sold us to Duke Energy, and I worked there through several iterations of company names until I retired in 2015. I have 2 children. I have Jeff, who's 42 years old, and my daughter Amber, who's 38. And we have 3 grandchildren, a Rebel, who is 24, Talon, who is 21 and attending college at Southeast Missouri State University in Cape Girardeau, where he's on the track team. My granddaughter Ellie is 14 and is a 9th grader at UConn High School.